I grow now? How do I grow big? Like grow big TV. Talking right here with Joe and Korky. Laughing out loud. But I'm still learning. You're on Grow Big TV. On Grow Big TV. And here's Joe and Korky.
Hey, welcome to Grow Big TV.
Welcome, everyone. We got a great interview today with a world record holder from the UK. His name is Kevin Fortey. I mean, you guys see some of the pictures we have. I mean, giant vegetables, guys, huge. And that's what this channel's about, because we're going to have several contests and growing giant vegetables, such as a pumpkin, maybe a cucumber. Well, we're going to come out with that because we still got to do some more research, because we want to make sure it's practical for everyone and easy to measure and do things right. So, well, we don't want to waste any time. Let's welcome in Kevin Fortey to the channel. Welcome in, Kevin. How you doing?
Yeah, hi, Joe.
Hey.
Hi, Korky.
Hi.
How you doing? I bet the sun's shining over in Ohio and New Jersey. It's quite dark here in Wales.
I was going to say, it's not really sunshiny here either. It's like overcast all the time this time of year. So, not fun.
Now, starting with that question, you know, we have temperature differences and you got climate change going on and all this other stuff. We could have 80 degrees in December. The next day it could be 10 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Do you see climate change in the UK as temperature differences going on?
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting much milder springs, much wetter summers, and we're having. I'm not sure if we're getting hooked on the Americans naming storms, but we're having successive storms over the last couple of months in October, November, which is battering the UK really, and I'm not sure if it's attributed to global warming, but it's not helping. Whatever it is.
Does that affect your bugs and everything? Because here, like we don't have a hard winter, the spring and the summer are just like loaded with bugs.
Yeah, so what we try to do with our tunnels, we try to make sure that we power wash. So we try to make sure that we power wash the tunnels before the end of the season, and put organic cleaning products into the tunnels, and then that hopefully then eradicates the pests, their eggs, and you know I've got a power hose which goes in there and it gives her a good clean, and it has helped the last 2 years, to be fair. One of the issues we do have is with the milder winters, we're not having as many frosts, so some of the bugs are not dying off, and as you say, they're populating and breeding all the way throughout the year, and it was great last year because some of the whitefly, we get it towards the end of the season, like most gardeners.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have the same kind of thing in the US, but the whitefly wreak havoc of some of the vegetables. But thankfully last year, you know, they were killed off by the cold winter we had.
Now, do you see the temperature extremes too? Like it could be normal, all of a sudden, poof, just goes high or low at a different degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So we in Easter time, which is over the last couple of years, we have 1 or 2 weeks where we get all the garden prepared, and we know that that's going to be the start of the growing season. Then we get maybe a frost, we'll get heavy rainfall, but it's a battle really trying to grow any vegetables, because once the soil is saturated, then there's no air in the soil. The rainfall takes away a lot of the calcium from the soils, and then we have to replenish that. But what we do is we grow with green manures, winter field beans, hairy vetch, and those winter manures help to stabilize the soils, stop erosion of the soils, and also provide organic nitrogen into the soils and rich organic matter, really. So it holds the soil together, because some of the rainfall we've had, I've seen it all over the world, really, where huge mountainsides have been carved away. I'm not sure if if the green manure would help that, but it goes some way into helping keep our soil compact, really.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been using cover crops?
We've been using cover crops for maybe about 14 years now. I had a really interesting conversation with a grower in France through our giant vegetable community group on Facebook, Mehdi Deho, and he was talking about his organic growing. And we have something in our soil called verticillium, which affects many communities right throughout the world. And we've had to move towards hydroponic growing. But in terms of the cover crops we use, Mehdi was talking about using brown mustard, which acts as an organic biofumigant, and is basically a sterilizer, organic sterilizer of the soil, and also growing hairy vetch. With winter field beans, the hairy vetch climbs up the beans to provide even more nutrients for the soil, really. So
Okay.
Now, since you do that, you do how many soil analysis? You do that every year, or do it during a year or two?
yeah, so
After the vegetable grows, do you do analysis? Like, how often do you do that?
so we have a soil analysis at the end of the season, at the start of the season, and then we take leaf tissue off the plants to identify where there are potential deficiencies, because when you see a deficiency in the leaf in the latter stages, that's kind of not helping with the plant growing to its full potential. So by paying a little bit of cash out, it reaps rewards in terms of heavier vegetables, because very often the analysis of the leaf will show up far before you see it actually forming in the leaf. So things like magnesium deficiency, calcium deficiency, you see, the discoloration of the leaves.
Okay. Oh, this is awesome. I love that.
So,
Not many people talk about, the soil.
Yeah.
So that's great that and not many people in the U.S. have used cover crops. I know.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I honestly, I think the cover crop thing here is newer than it is other places. I don't think that people have been doing it for very long. Maybe farmers, but for the most part, I don't even think farmers have done it for very long. And then they've done a lot of research on it, that it keeps the soil together and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, yeah, so they've been using it a lot more, but it hasn't been a thing for very long.
There's also volcanic dust that can be used as well. So over farming of soils takes away essential nutrients from soils, and organic dusts help from mines which are millions of years old, heavily the organic rock dust has stacks of micro and macronutrients contained within it, which helps to replenish some of the macro micronutrients that are eradicated from the soil by over farming.
Yeah.
So there's more ways to grow vegetables than just synthetic chemicals, and fertilizers. So I think by looking at more organic ways, we're ensuring that what we eat is healthy and if it helps our bodies, the plants are happy as well.
It's funny that you say that, because I don't think they don't do that here. No. I think the UK and Europe and stuff have discovered that, and there's a lot of specific laws and stuff in Europe about how they grow things and stuff like that, but we don't have that here. So it's definitely something that we need to also look into here as well. And I don't think we're there yet.
It's starting though. The government is starting to figure things out. 20 years too late, but it's starting, or 100 years too late. But it's starting, and which is great, because everybody's starting to focus more on those cover crops like you're talking about. Everybody wants to grow so much food, they don't realize how much poisons they're putting in their own food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about biochar?
We've never really used that. It's something that a couple of the growers have suggested that we use. So from our fires, we can use some of that. I'm thinking of using it next year because you can get biochar compost as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I think you call it. How do you pronounce it? Compost. It's posh actually, but. So no, sorry. There's a couple of different dialects, isn't there? Really, in terms of how you say tomato, we say tomato, and
yeah.
Tomato.
Sorry, I actually got that wrong, didn't I? But you say tomato, we say tomato.
That's funny.
Well, New York, they go tomato, but they don't know what they're talking about in New York.
New Jersey has a completely different language.
Really?
So true. So true. Now, when you started growing, how did you start growing? Well, your father?
Yeah, I've got a tomato here.
Oh my gosh! Look at that thing.
Huge.
Okay, let me guess. Wait, what is that? 10 pounds?
Yeah, it's I weighed it just earlier. I only just picked it, so it was 3.6 kilos. So I haven't had a chance yet to convert that into pounds, but 2.2. So
I can do it.
whatever that is, 7.2, just under 8 pounds. Yeah. We just had a frost, so the frost is just.
It's almost 8 pounds. Almost.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow. So what kind of tomato is that? What kind of variety?
There's a new strain which is bred in the US called Domingo.
Domingo.
Okay.
It's Domingo. Okay.
Yeah.
Usually they grow around 2 or 3 pounds tomato, 2 or 3 pounds here. Wow.
Yeah. So there's a grower in the US has grown, I think, 17, 18 pound tomatoes this year. Incredible, really. So that's like, double the size of that, really.
That's
wow.
Really cool. So
I'm in La La Land when you look at something like that, because that just gets me so excited.
Gets you excited to grow this next year. What made you want to do this? Like, you've been doing this since you were really young?
Yeah. So myself and my brother hides in the background, but yeah. So we've been growing vegetables since the early 1980s. My dad basically gave us all the genes to help us with growing, and he had a little allotment. So I think you call them community gardens in the US. Okay. And he basically had a patch, and he gave myself and my brother a patch, and we competed against him, went to local shows, and that gave us the competitive genes, really. And I think my dad taught us loads of different things in the garden that I'm handing down to my son, my friends and family, and people all over the world, really, now. It used to be quite a secretive hobby, but the advent of Facebook and social media channels has unleashed the secretive nature of our sport, really. But my dad started off growing quality vegetables, so like the perfect carrots, perfect tomatoes, perfect 3 beetroot, and then he stumbled upon giant vegetables over a chat down the local village pub. Over a chat, and they had a bit of banter around who could grow the biggest pumpkin, and then that was the very first UK giant vegetable show in a place called Cwmbran in South Wales. Unfortunately, a lot of our local pubs have been demolished now because of the sign of the times, unfortunately. But the pub's no longer there. It's just been built on with houses. But from there, it went to the Cwmbran Working Women's Club, which was like a social club, and then went to Cardiff, and then right the way throughout the UK to Norfolk in the east of the UK. We had amazing when we were kids. There's a theme park called Alton Towers, and I remember as a kid us going up there, staying a couple of days, and us having the giant vegetable championships in Alton Towers, and it was amazing just getting some free tickets and just leaving the vegetables by the kids' canyons, and yeah, I've got lots of memories from our childhoods with our dad. Unfortunately, my dad passed on in '96 and left with us, a very giant legacy for us to continue to grow, and that's where we are today, really. And we've had a number of world records, which you can talk about in a bit.
Now, have you always saved your own seed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've always ensured that we save our seed, and if we do swap with other growers, we just make sure that we work with those growers to ensure that the seeds are the perfect species. They've been pollinated with the correct plants, and also to ensure that we are progressing with the seed every year, rather than going back a couple of years, because one year of failed pollination could lead to maybe the eradication of that plant species potentially, if we don't save the seeds. And it's a very important thing, really, saving seeds, and it's not difficult. Anybody can do it. You just need some experience and need to learn. And if I teach one person, hopefully they'll teach another 10 people. So it's just about sharing the love, really, and ensuring that the seeds that we have are not certified organic, but many of the seeds that we grow, like our giant beetroot seeds, are organic in nature. They're grown in peat-free compost, which is there's a company in Cumbria, in the Lake District, who have a compost which is made of sheep's wool and bracken, which is a great peat-free product. I'm not sure what it's like in the US with peat-free, but in the UK they're looking to ban it shortly. So more and more companies are moving towards peat-free products.
Yeah, in the United States, it's still a big thing. But I've been reading stuff exactly like what you're saying, peat's on the way out. So that's very interesting that you're saying that now, what's going on. Especially 2 years ago, everything involved with that medium and stuff like that. Not even a medium, but it's pretty insane. Yeah, you guys are like 2 or 3 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
So,
really well, yeah. We normally copy the US in many things, but hopefully in the gardening world we're leading in that
No,
field.
you're definitely leading. It's amazing. It's awesome. So I got some questions to ask you about that. Now, the way I typically see it is like I've seen how large your cabbage can grow. So I mean, honestly, that can like feed a lot of people. So like, can you, when you grow, you said you grow organically, or you try to grow organically? Can you eat that cabbage, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so the cabbage that we grow are originally from a grower in Cornwall called George Rogers, and that's the genetics of the Cornish giant cabbage, basically. Okay. With the cabbages, we used to start them in November, but we've moved now towards February, and this is, I think, due to changing climates as well. So we don't have to start them as early now. We're starting them much later in the season, in February, March time. In terms of the cabbage, can you eat it? Absolutely. But you need, quite a big pot to cook one.
See, I can, so I could I'd can that cabbage. I'd have cabbage for years.
Yeah, the head on them, some of them can be maybe 30 inches in diameter. No, maybe a bit bigger than that. 30. Around the head, probably a bit bigger. I've never actually measured one, but one of them, the cabbages, when we had a show in a place called Aberglasney Gardens, and if you ever have the opportunity to come to Wales, put that on your list. It's amazing. It's in Carmarthenshire, which is in West Wales. We had a show there. There was a lady there who, she said to me, "What are you doing with that cabbage?" And I said, my car smells of cabbage, and it's going to smell of cabbage for the next couple of weeks. And she took away that cabbage, and I said, crack on and take it after after the show ends. And it transpired she was a teacher, and she took it to her school.
Oh,
But her partner, I think perhaps her husband, hopefully it was her partner or husband, but they came down in an Audi TT.
oh no.
And I thought how the heck is this cabbage going to get in the boot of here?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so we had to cut the stump off and give it a ram in there, and yeah, thankfully that Audi T probably smelled of cabbage for a couple more weeks as well. But that went to feed a school actually, and they had
That's amazing.
it fed a school. So some of the cabbages have gone to food banks as well.
That's
So
awesome. Is that the same with like all of your vegetables? Like, because those vegetables, I mean, the carrots and everything, they're so big. And like, you can
Yes.
feed so many people from that. That's amazing.
So the Guinness World Record for the heaviest carrot is currently held by Chris Quayle.
Okay.
I think he's from Minnesota, and it was over 20 pounds in weight. But those carrots are not really edible, to be honest. You know,
Okay.
they may be good for a bit of flossing, perhaps on your teeth, but you know, they're pretty stringy as hell, and they smell good, but they probably wouldn't be as edible.
Okay.
It'd be just like tucking into a really raw steak.
Oh.
We're gonna have several vegetables grown in your biggest vegetable contest. What 6 varieties of vegetables would be very easy to measure, to weigh, for people to get started? Because that's what basically our community probably will be. It won't be growing like your size vegetables.
Yeah,
It'll be probably halfway if we're lucky.
Yeah, so I think in terms of some of the vegetables, maybe length. So you could look at longest runner bean, longest chili. So they're quite easy to grow. A lot of people grow chilies. You can eat them as well. That's 2. One of the problems with weighing is people can potentially cheat, but if you cheat, you're only cheating yourself, really. And if you're having like an online event, maybe some of like the widest things, like widest sunflower head, where you can actually visibly see, 0 to 20 inches or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
What else is there? I think some of the fun things to do is like giant beetroots, because you can can them, you can juice them, you can make dye with them for your clothing. You can do anything with them really, and do some quirky things with some of the vegetables as well. Maybe have a contest of the most number of things you can do with that beetroot after it's grown, really, perhaps. But so what we've got long runner bean, heaviest beetroot, heaviest chili, perhaps, longest cucumber, maybe, and we've got 2 more. Do you grow rhubarb in the US?
Yeah, I have a huge rhubarb in my raised bed right now.
So you could have, maybe if you want some fun things for kids to do in schools, maybe like tallest rhubarb, and you can look at how rhubarb is stretched and loads of different things, really, just to get interaction, and also just get more and more people involved in growing. Really, just don't pick some of the hardest things like pumpkins, and the US now has the world's largest pumpkin.
Yeah, I saw that. It was Minnesota or something. That guy's pumpkin was humongous.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. So I remember, my dad, when we had blankets to lift pumpkins, like duvets, but now you have cranes and forklift trucks and and tractors. So
now, what was size? How many pounds was your largest pumpkin?
We haven't actually grown large pumpkins because we don't necessarily have the space to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we focus on marrows, which is zucchinis. So our biggest ever zucchini, or marrow, which we call in the UK, is 203 pounds.
Oh, see, mine was like 35 pounds, I think. So I thought mine was big, but no. It's not so big.
Yeah,
it was so proud of that.
I
too.
was proud of it. It was the
look at the
largest thing I've
size of
ever
this thing.
grown. I mean, it was huge. I was so proud of it. Yeah. I still have it. It's on my back porch.
Yeah, maybe carve something with it. But I think marrows are very easy to grow. You know, you could maybe have the longest zucchini as well. I think that's about 6. Let's just recap. Sorry. So we got longest chili, longest runner bean, longest marrow, widest sunflower head, heaviest beetroot, and maybe tallest rhubarb.
Okay. It just gives us a whole bunch of different, because I'm always thinking big, like a pumpkin. I'm like, you can never weigh a pumpkin around. Hey, I'm gonna go. I have the biggest pumpkin. Got to go weigh it. Oh my! It's the scales only go here to 300 pounds.
Yeah.
What happens if where are they gonna weigh a pumpkin if it's more than 300?
Yeah. No, that was the same when we were raising turkeys, because we had to weigh them we were in 4-H. So we had to weigh them, but where are we going to weigh them at? Because so we had to go to a local farm. We had to go to a farm where they actually had equipment so we could get them weighed, and because our scales and stuff, and trying to get a turkey to stand still was another big issue.
But here's the question: when's the end game to grow the biggest marrow or zucchini? Like, when do you, if it's turning all kind of colors, is that the end game, or has to be a certain color? Like, when's the end game?
Yeah. So the rules on the zucchinis are if it's turning an orange color, that it gets disqualified, because that orange is from the family of a pumpkin.
Oh, okay.
So what that is basically suggesting is that marrow has been crossed with a field pumpkin. So it goes back to my earlier discussion around ensuring that the genetics are correctly carried out in terms of the pollination, and making sure that you have the marrows turning green rather than orange, and a marrow turning ball shaped, and that kind of thing, really.
So right now, guys, I'm going to show you guys Kevin's website, which is really, really awesome. It's called Giant Veg Seeds. And you could buy some of his seeds here, which is really, really awesome. So I just put in Giant Veg, and I'll leave you guys a link in the description of this video. But look at this. This is awesome. Cabbage. There's the pumpkin.
That's awesome.
I mean, just look at the size of these. So go to the website, buy some seeds for your birthday. I mean, look at it. Giant bell pepper. How many pounds could that bell pepper be? What is the largest bell pepper?
So the largest bell pepper was broken this year. It's just over 700 grams. So it's just under 2 pounds, I think, in weight.
Oh, okay.
Now,
you are the world record holder of the cantaloupe too, right?
No, so that's held. So we're the UK record holder. So sorry, I'll start again. Sorry, we are the UK record holder for the heaviest cantaloupe melon, which is just over, I think it's 32 pounds in weight. So Tony, I can't pronounce his name, sorry, but Prosecca, over in the US, he's grown one over 70 pounds.
Wow.
He's blessed with, great soil and great weather. We have to grow ours indoors, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Look at that. It's freaking huge, man. Can't get over that. Oh, that cucumber.
Look at that cucumber. Wow.
Yeah, I'll give you a bit of cucumber now. This is just freshly harvested, but
Look at the size, guys. Look at that.
Now, is that good to eat at that size?
I've never really tried to eat it. It's really good for your skin, actually. When I was taking the seeds out, the next day my skin was just so soft. So
nice.
Maybe there might be something that we could do with the cucumbers.
Yeah.
But these are overripe, really. So they don't taste bitter. But I think I prefer to eat them when they're younger, really.
Yeah. It's my favorite vegetable. That's why I asked.
I don't think I could get through one of these in a day.
No, I don't know. Maybe I could, because I really like them.
Now, how many world records do you currently have? I know you broke, and some people broke yours, and all bunch of stuff. But what is your current
Yeah,
world
so
record?
we currently hold 4 Guinness World Records. I had a look on one of our records, and it got beat this year. Actually, the tallest potato plant. So that was ours was just under 3 meters. Somebody's grown one over in the US actually, just over 3.3 meters. So we currently hold 4 Guinness World Records for the heaviest beetroot. This year we grew the tallest tomatillo plant and the heaviest sunflower head, which is 6.448 kilos, just over 14 pounds in weight, and then the largest sunflower leaf. And here's some of our records basically. But we've got, so this was one,
Wow.
the radish, I think it says radish. And then this was the one we had this year actually. I don't know how you say this, but tomatillo.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that one there was it was just under 12 feet, 3.5 meters, or just under 3.6 meters. And yeah, that was a challenge trying to get that into a van, which I had to hire to take it to the UK Giant Vegetable Championships. But it made it. And this was
quite the celebration.
yes. So this was our beetroot. So that was our giant beetroot, which weighed, I think it was, I'm not sure what it is in pounds, but 23.995 kilos. It says on here. I'm just going to turn it around. Just under 53 pounds, just
Wow.
slightly under.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
Yeah, so they haven't got it all gone up on the wall because I'm not allowed much space on the walls.
Now, do you have something you really want to break this year that you really like, you're more interested more than others?
I think for us, so this year in terms of our record, I tried to achieve the tomatillo plant last season. In 2022. So that was basically born from a visit we had over to the US. And Oops Lirio, he's a Mexican guy. I went over to the Heirloom Expo over in Santa Rosa in California.
Yeah.
And give a talk on growing giant vegetables.
nice.
And Oob took myself and my son to Mexican community gardens. And I was just fascinated by just the community and everybody in this Mexican community just growing their own really fresh, healthy, nutritious vegetables.
Yeah.
And just the kids there, just harvesting, and it was just fascinating. And I saw these plants, which are tomatillo plants, and Jared Gettle, the guy who owns the Baker Creek Seed Company, said, here you go, Kev, here's some seeds, try and grow these. And I didn't tell him I wanted to grow tall ones, but I tried last year, 2022, but because of the rising fuel prices in the UK, I sadly turned off the heating. So it got to 2.8. The record at the time, I think, was just over 3 meters. But this year I give it a blast towards the just before the show, week before the show, when we were talking earlier about climate change and differences in weather, and we had really cold spell, and tomatillo plants need a bit of warmth, and I turned up the heater, which made the meter go around a bit more, and the bills go down. Well, not the bills go. Sorry, not the bills go up, and the income go down. Sorry. Yeah. So, but we managed to grow that extra couple of inches and take it to the show, really. So that was one of my best achievements. We do have a couple of ideas around world records for next year, but we're currently just at the drawing board, really, because now is the end of the season. So we're cleaning down our tunnels and preparing really for the forthcoming season. So I've got a couple that I'd like to look at, but I haven't really decided which one I'd like to look at. Guinness World Records are really hard to achieve, really. We've been fortunate to achieve 9 Guinness World Records, which is an amazing accomplishment, I think. And testament really to my dad, who started off the championships, and my dad never achieved one. So we've achieved 9 more things than he ever did. But one thing that he did, he gave us the encouragement and the skill sets to enable us to achieve those records. And
that's awesome.
Now, talking about family, does
Yeah.
your son have that? Dad, I'm going to beat your world record.
Yeah. So could you just repeat that? Sorry.
Like with your son, like
Yeah.
you can have like you seen your dad, you want to grow bigger. You know, it's a family thing. It's a competition. Does your son have that same drive to grow bigger than you?
Yeah, he does help in the garden, but I think nowadays there's more things that children get involved in. And I kind of, my dad passed on very early, so I was able to take a leaf out of his book, really, and just keep growing. Fortunately for Jamie, I'm here with him, and I'll encourage him in whatever he chooses to do in his life. And when he gets his own garden and family, then he will be growing. He does help in the garden, but hopefully I can be here for many more years to keep growing and keep inspiring my son, my family, and many people throughout the world.
You know, that's great advice for your kid. My father gave me some great advice. He goes, I used to coach high school sports, and he said, never push your kid until he's ready to be pushed, because they don't get the same love of the game that you have. So it's not, it's not in your kids. It's don't put your eyes on your kid. Let your kid's eyes see itself and then help out in the journey.
Absolutely.
So that's always some little advice. And that's great that you're doing that, because sooner or later that drive might kick in. And when it does, it's like, yes.
When it does, he's beating your world records.
Yeah, he's going to beat all your world records.
Yeah, his name is on all of them, actually. It's more of a family thing, really. So we all club in to help achieve those records, really. And it's not just one person that does that, really. It's a bit of a combined effort, really. So.
Now, growing hydroponically, when did you start doing that?
It was before we met Snoop Dogg.
I was just going to ask you about that. Like, how did that happen? That's funny.
Yeah, so one of the growers grew the world's largest Swede, and he lived very close to us. And there was an invite to go backstage to meet Snoop Dogg when he had his concert in Cardiff. And yeah, it was surreal, really, just seeing him backstage and sharing some growing tips with him. And we just got into the art of hydroponic growing. So we were able to share some of our growing tips, really. And I think it was a great meeting of like minds and growing minds, really. So yeah, it was good fun, actually. So in terms of hydroponic growing, one of the reasons why we started growing hydroponically was because of the cucumbers. They weren't growing in our soil. So verticillium is a root-borne disease that attacks. It's a bacteria that attacks the roots. And I don't know if you ever heard of wilt, like cucumber wilt.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes caused by moist soils and. But for us, it's caused by verticillium in the soils. So we were growing when the fruit starts to set, the plant will just literally collapse, and that's no good for us when we're looking to keep our seed lines going. And we then stumbled upon it was a magazine article, actually. It was called Garden Culture, and Eric Colombe from Canada. He runs the magazine. Him and his family got really connected with Eric, and then I phoned up this one company called Hydro Garden, talked about their new Go Grow system in the magazine, and then we got hooked on hydroponic growing, really. We got connections, and then I started writing for Garden Culture to talk about giant vegetable growing and then learning, really. So hydroponic growing is just pretty much the same kind of growing as soil, but there's more of a science to it in terms of the nutrients that go into the reservoirs, how the plants grow through like grow and bloom and PKs, which ordinarily would be in soils. So we're kind of like creating a perfect growing environment in a 25-litre pot, which is coir, I think you call it. We call it coir, and coir and pebbles, and ensuring that we also use a rooting inoculant as well, and our own compost teas to make sure that the plants have the best start and are able to keep growing really. And we've learned how to grow over the last couple of years, and we're still learning. Everybody's learning in the gardening world. One thing that's important in gardening is to learn from your mistakes and also learn from your successes and see how you can combine the two to be even more successful in growing.
That's awesome.
Never too
Yeah,
late.
I've just never. Have you grown hydroponically, Joe?
I have not. I've been wanting to, and I'm learning a lot of stuff from the soil with Matt Powers and Elaine Ingram. I don't know if you heard of those two, Kevin. And they're like more like the compost queen of the world. That's the way I look at it, as Elaine. And Matt's one of her students, and he's taking it beyond her. And everything they're going beyond and beyond in science. And hydroponically doesn't get the same. You're adding stuff to everything.
Yeah.
And it's not from the soil, so it's a little different. And
I thought about getting that started in my basement, but I'm not sure yet.
I mean, if you could do both, great. Growing as healthy as you can. That's what's the most important thing you could do. Especially organically.
Yeah, we even had a guy from the Australian embassy who was growing in Antarctica in an embassy.
Really?
Embassy plot. They were growing hydroponically in shipping containers. It was amazing, and that was just through the connection with Facebook, really. And just hydroponic growing is not all about growing with synthetics. There's a lot of organic products out there that you can use.
That's what I would have been worried about. Yeah, is like the chemicals. Like, what can you put in there that's not going to be all, like what you said. Like, that's one thing that would concern me.
Yeah, there's loads of different ways to grow. So we use something called nutrient film technique, which is essentially just water going over a film, and the root is soilless. So we've grown aubergines or eggplants in that, tomatoes. There's also we have something called a quad grow, which is basically a capillary mat. So you have a pot with a capillary mat underneath, which sits in a reservoir, and then the plant absorbs water and nutrient from the base. And we've had I'm not going to eat these, but these are some ghost chilies, and I don't even like chilies, but I grow them just for the fun. But if I ate one of these, I wouldn't be talking for very long. So
this year, before all of their ate it, I started 600 varieties of hot peppers. And more like was for save seeds, dehydrate the powder. I like dehydrating hot peppers.
Yeah, because I like to put them in things like tacos and, chilies and, and all that. Like, I think they're better dehydrated.
Well, you got to just adjust the amount of heat you could put on your food.
Right, yeah.
That's what I like. I love it on rice. Rice is great.
I just want to know how you like the Mexican food.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so sorry. So I first visited the US. I had some amazing Mexican food from a Mexican community, and I went over to do a talk at the expo, the Spring Festival in Baker Creek in Mansfield in Missouri, and I shared one of Jerry's outpost houses with a guy called Williams Wise Weaver from Philadelphia, and he took me. I had a hire car, and we went out for a drive. I was exhausted. I was only there from Sunday to Tuesday, and I'd been up for 22 hours, and he said, let's go out for a drive, and we then the next day, we went, and he said, "Oh, it's only down the road," and you guys down the road is like 50 miles.
An hour later.
Whereas our down the road is 100 yards. Yeah. But we went to this absolutely amazing Mexican restaurant, and I can still taste those fresh peppers that they'd roasted, and just eating those, and just delicious, really. And then when I was over in Santa Rosa, the Baker Creek Heirloom Festival, that's when I went to the Mexican community gardens, and I went to this Mexican restaurant that Ube took me to, and it was basically just a former garage, forecourt, that they converted into like a Mexican drive-through and a restaurant. So the booth was like where they handed out the food, and it was amazing, fresh.
Yeah.
You don't get that in any chain restaurants or any supermarkets. You can't beat traditional home cooked food, really.
No, not at all. Especially Mexican food. It's like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Peppers, cilantro. Yeah, I'm all about it. So good.
You would love New Jersey. We have everything here. Some of the top chefs in the world go to New York City. And what happened in New York City is everything it's too expensive. So what they did, they started their own shops in New Jersey. And so New Jersey's oh my God. New Jersey's the Garden State. And now you got everybody moving in, and it's like, wow. It's so abundant of everything. Every kind of food you can imagine is here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Spoiled for choice.
There's a reason why I'm so big. Okay. So guys, you know what? Kevin has a whole bunch of other sites you could check out his information. I'm going to show you that right now. So he has on YouTube, I know this is a little older. If you go to Giant Veg, there's so much stuff here.
That is so funny that it's called Giant Veg, because that is what I do, a carrot challenge on my channel every year to see who can grow the biggest. And I call it the Giant Veg Challenge. I had no idea that's what your YouTube was. So, kind of funny.
Now this site might be a little, I guess, outdated a little bit in a way.
Yeah.
5 years, 6 years.
I've started doing short. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've started doing shorts, actually, because I'm just conscious that some of my I've got one on the giant tomato. If you go down a little bit, there.
Oh yeah.
So that one there is what we've just started, really, because I find it hard to turn my phone around all the time to landscape, and shorts help me out, actually.
It's so cool.
So anywhere you guys go, I mean, there's so much knowledge, and that's what's great about growing vegetables. We're never too old to learn in anything we do. So go check out some of the older videos. And Kevin's also on Twitter, and this is a lot more current. Kevin is regularly on Twitter. That's how I found Kevin, actually. And look at this picture here, guys. I mean, look at some of those vegetables. Oh my God. But let me just go look at that one. There you go. That's what this channel wants to be. I mean, grow about big, healthy, huge food.
Yeah, I've got that pruner in my hand now, actually.
That's really cool.
Yeah, honestly,
I've never seen that before.
It's amazing. I see if I need to just press 2 buttons. I cut a whole coppiced a whole tree yesterday with it, and
yeah, I like that. It's super. It must be super strong.
Yeah, so left and right-handed. Yeah, it's amazing. Not very heavy, and yeah, the only effort was just getting up the ladder.
Yeah, I like that. I have a ton of apple trees and different type of stuff like that. That would be great for something like that.
Yeah, it's really good with disabled people as well.
Yeah.
So people who have arthritis, and sometimes they struggle with secateurs. So they're great bits of kit.
And Kevin, you ship all your other stuff overseas too? Like
Yeah,
your
so
pool and stuff like that.
yeah, so we have mycorrhiza, compost teas, and you know they're able to freely go all over the world.
Okay, cool. That's what I would be interested in. That's really neat. Okay.
I can send you some over to superpower your vegetables.
That would be awesome.
That would be really awesome. It'll be in every video. Check this out. Let me show you some other being part of the community is very important. So it's also on Facebook, and also on Instagram. So here you talk about a little of the products, media, history, records, events. I mean, look at that sunflower head.
I know. I was wondering about that stem. How thick was the stem to hold such a huge sunflower head? It must have been huge.
Yeah, that stem, it was around 18 inches. No, I measured it actually when I harvested it. So the one was 18 inches, the one was 22 inches. So like just under 2 feet in circumference.
Oh my
gosh. It was, but that's the benefit of the plant, because you have to have a good root structure to support the head of the plant, and if you do that through how you grow it, then you ensure you have a record-breaking flower on the plant.
Wow, that would have been huge.
I mean, look at the potato plant.
I know.
Yeah,
anything like that.
Yeah, I don't really like heights, but when I went up those ladders, it was quite refreshing because they're quite safe.
And the wheelbarrows. I think you need a bigger wheelbarrow.
Yeah, I do have a giant wheelbarrow, but this is a video that we put on here how we grow our marrows. We start off in May, inoculate our roots with mycorrhiza. Put that into
That's what I used this year on my Boston Marrow. That's why my one Boston Marrow got so huge, is I used that stuff on the roots when we put it in the ground.
Yeah, I think also these are some tips that we've learned really over the years, covering with fleece, which helps to prevent ripening of the fruit. Also helps to keep the fruit warmer, and then put it on a bed of sand. So there's, the marrow is absolutely ginormous, and I gave one of the marrows one year to a food bank, and we cut slices which went on people's food bank parcels, basically. So
wow,
yeah, it had a good. Sorry, I've just been twiddling my thumbs on this chili, like I feel my fingers burning.
Oh no!
I don't need to rub my eyes.
Yeah, please don't do that because it would really hurt.
Oh, do you have chickens?
Yeah, we do have chickens. Love our chickens. So they've been grown from, some of them are battery hens. So those are the battery hens, and there's some that are there's some hybrids.
Do you have these at your house, or do you have these on your allotment? Yeah,
so these are at my partner's, Amy.
Okay.
So yeah, she got quite a big garden, and we bred these chickens right from eggs to hatching. Mm-hmm. So they've got quite a good connection. They're meant to be. These were sold as Buff Orpingtons, but they're they're a bit of a Heinz variety, I think.
Yeah, they looked a little mixed.
Yeah.
That's really
I love chickens. I have about 50 birds, and then I have turkeys and ducks and all of that. But, yeah, I love chickens. They're so cool. I like to watch them mainly. Like, they're so relaxing to watch. Each one of them have their own personality.
Yeah, they've all got really unique characters, and they're all good fun. Actually, these are some of our pets. So that's the hydroponic system, which is the capillary mat system.
That looks delicious. Is that one of those Spanish peppers?
So I don't know where the seed actually originated, because one of our good friends, Chris Fowler, gave us a couple of seeds. He gave them to us, and we've just got them even longer. But they're beautiful roasted. These are Sugar Rush Peach Stripey.
Oh, okay.
So Chris Fowler is the breeder of those. He lives just a couple of miles away from us, and he's bred numerous different types of chilies. So you have Sugar Rush, which Baker Creek stock,
right?
And this is his Sugar Rush Peach Stripey, which is a.
Have you had one of those? I've never had one before. They're super hot, aren't they?
They're not. Well, they're not overly. They're not too. They're not hot like these.
Yeah.
But they are hot. But I can kind of tolerate them. But I don't think I could tolerate many of them.
There's a giant tomato you were talking about.
Yeah. It's amazing how it's grown since that time. I'm not sure what date October. Yeah, so that just shows you, from October to December, how the actual fruit and plant are still growing, which ordinarily when we were kids we would never have been able to grow vegetables past September.
Yeah.
Now this Plant Magic.
Can you get that here in the US?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, because it's a UK company.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if they've ventured into that's an organic. So the Plant Magic Grow and Bloom is organic, and it smells really good. You can smell like all the molasses and all the organic nature of it. That's one of our tunnels. So those tomatoes, which you see at the front right,
oh my gosh, look how red they are. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Yeah, they're absolutely amazing. One of them, they weigh up to about 1 kilo each. So at the very bottom of the truss, you get them about 1 kilo, and you get maybe like 8 or 9 on one truss. So you have to support them quite heavily. There they are there.
They look amazing.
Wow. They look like apples. They look so red.
Yeah, they're beautiful, just sliced in a sandwich, or I think you call them subs, but we've got a bit of sub now, Subway. But
oh, okay, that's awesome. I need that for my raspberry plants or my raspberry bushes. They're getting huge.
Yeah, this batteries. Go ahead. Sorry.
Do you see most of your appliances going battery wise instead of electronically?
I think there's more of a move towards battery power now. We're fortunate to have a battery mower, so a battery ride-on from the guys at Stiga, and we've been trialing that and seeing how it grows. Amazing, really. This here. So yeah, sorry. Some of those photos. One of the guys is Raymond Blanc, who's a leading chef in the UK, and these are some of the photographs of my dad there with the onions. There's plenty on there. There's me and my dad, one of the shows with the parsnip. There's Raymond Blanc, and that was a conversation I had with Raymond over how good vegetables tasted, and his view was that giant vegetables were tasteless. And if you look at some of the tomatoes that we grow, the flavor is immense in them.
It's different, I think, with tomatoes versus, like, say, for instance, an onion.
Yeah.
Like, tomatoes are normally, like, when they get big, the flavor doesn't change. Not that much.
No, not really. I think the longer they're growing, the more flavor that comes to them, I believe.
Yeah.
Same with an onion, really, but the onions are much milder when they're growing for a longer period. This was amazing. We went over to the tulip fields in the Netherlands.
That is amazing.
I love tulips. That's so beautiful.
If you ever get a chance, there's a garden called Keukenhof, and just millions of tulip bulbs. If you go back up, there's a photograph of King Charles. So that's when we met King Charles.
Oh, you got to meet King Charles? Yeah. That is awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing day. We took part in a TV program on BBC,
Oh,
BBC
okay.
One, and we won the final of the program. And there was 13 specially commissioned bowls with the inscription from King Charles and his wife. So yeah, so basically, it was amazing going to Highgrove, seeing all of the gardens, seeing how fascinating, really, the gardens at Highgrove were so well maintained, and just an honor, really, just to meet King Charles
Oh yeah,
and
that is
just have a chat with them.
that's amazing. That's so
What other celebrities have you met? I mean, we thought Snoop Dogg was big.
Yeah, so I haven't actually met Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Alanis's hubby Solai. He's really amazing, growing with his kids, and he's grown a couple of giant vegetables and in his garden, and we've had some chats over Facebook. And we've had some chats over Instagram, and it just shows the power, really, of the connectivity with social media. We've had chats with Martha Stewart's gardener. So we've also had chats with Ryan McAllister, who's Martha Stewart's gardener. And if you go on Ryan McAllister's Instagram page, you see all of the good work that he does in Martha's gardens. And it's amazing just chatting over social media and being able to connect with people from all over the world, and all for the love of growing communities, growing with people, and growing with plants.
Yeah. What is the biggest vegetable? The worst vegetable that you have grown that's given you the hardest issue?
I suppose growing giant marrows, really, because marrows are quite hard to grow without them splitting. So one of the going back to when we had discussions around leaf analysis, I had a leaf analysis and it said that it needs a bit of potash. So I I got some ash from the fire and sprinkled it around the base of the plant, and next day the marrow literally just burst open. So I learned a couple of lessons from that, really, and more around just little and often rather than lots and not often. But marrows are quite difficult because you can have a marrow on there, you can pollinate. Sometimes the pollination doesn't take, and there's a real art to doing it, and just learning just different techniques of how we can make sure that we try to ensure we get pollination, from like fishing umbrellas over the fruits, to fans going on the pollination, just to make sure that they actually take, really.
Do you have pollination issues in the UK?
We don't. So from our perspective, the pollination issue is more from ourselves, because we hand pollinate everything.
Okay.
Because we're trying to create our we call them purebred genetics, and we need to make sure that our seed is pure, to ensure that seed has the genetic capability to be able to break world records.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if
you
we
have to isolate it, basically.
So if we left it to the bees, a bee could go onto a field pumpkin, another gourd, and then put that pollen onto the marrow or zucchini fruits, and that's good night then for that marrow and the seed, really, because it's a one-hit wonder, really, because we need to make sure that those seeds are viable and true, because it's pointless wasting, what is this? So 6 meters by 8 meters of growing space just for one marrow.
Okay.
And if that turns out to be a little pumpkin, it's a lot of wasted space.
This year, okay, I have one section of my garden that's dedicated to watermelon and the Boston Marrow. And I only planted a few because I knew they were going to get huge. But when I went out there one day, I was like, I couldn't even walk in there. Like they were everywhere. But I have not plastic, but like garden stuff down to keep the weeds out.
Okay. Yeah.
I noticed that my marrow liked to stretch on over my fence and into my backyard more than it liked being in my garden. Should I do like sand there? Like,
Yes.
should I move
Yes. So,
the sand on top of that to keep?
so what we put on the base of our marrow is sand, and when the marrow is growing, the sand, I believe, helps it to swim across the sand.
Okay.
So it kind of has uninterrupted growing. So if
Oh.
there's potentially like a lump of hard soil or a rock, then that that trauma for that fruit prevents it from growing effectively, and that's when you get potential like splits and surges in growth and that kind of stuff. I think that's from my experience, really. So,
Yeah, because I noticed that it would like it wanted to be in my backyard more than anything. And
yeah.
it stretched all the way out there. And I actually got a couple marrows just from that little section that grew in my backyard. And I think it was because it could grow roots. Whereas the other section that I have, that garden fabric, it didn't get a chance to grow those roots because there was nothing there.
Yeah, so what you could do there is make like slots in the garden fabric for the so on every leaf node you'll have a root,
Okay.
and put compost over that leaf, and then you'll get root growth.
Okay.
And then also that provides anchorage to the plant and stability. So if you have winds, then the plant is not going to be moving from side to side, and there's just general tips like that, really. Try that and let us know how you get on.
Yeah, last year was the first year I've ever grown a marrow before. So it was like, I was so happy because once I heard that they can grow up, well, the picture that I saw, they were like, oh, it can grow up to 50 pounds. And I was like, okay, I was so excited, but mine only got to 35, but I was really excited about it.
Now, germinating the largest seeds, like, whatever you have, is it harder than your regular seed?
So we use something called chitting to grow some of our seeds because we want to make sure that they're both viable and they germinate.
Yeah.
So when we chit, what I mean by that is if you have like a container, you have a kitchen towel, and you place the seeds on top of that, cover, and then put it into like an airing cupboard or a warm room, those seeds will germinate much more quickly. And as soon as you see that taproot appear, that's when you need to get it into the pots, because the minute that dries out, that's good night for that seed, really.
Yeah, I always chit my celery seeds because they were so small. Yeah. And then the thing is, like, if I put them in those little pods, I end up overfilling the pods because those seeds are just like so small. So I chit those, and then I'll take like some tweezers once I see that they've germinated, and then I'll put one individually to each pod. So then that way I know that I didn't plant like 50 seeds. Not that I would do that, but I didn't plant 50 seeds per pod, and then I have to choose which one that I want. So
I think celery need light to germinate.
Yeah.
So just you don't need to grow many celery seeds. You can get hundreds in. That's just like a little pinch.
Now talk about sitting. Potatoes. Grow a large potato. Do you cut them in half, or you just put one potato per container, say, for example?
Yeah, so just one potato per container, and the potato has one eye. So sorry, the potato has one chit, which is the eye from the potato, which grows the leaves, and that is the only one that. But there's only one per potato that is allowed to grow. So if you think of it, the more eyes that grow, the more potatoes you're going to have. But with the giant potato, you need to have one potato per plant. So then you are making sure that has the maximum potential to grow large.
Okay.
And then you can actually lift a potato up out of the ground and take away some of the mini potatoes and just
and then force it to grow a bigger potato.
And then just nip off all the other potatoes and just grow one on the So and then you can just basically scrape away some of the soils, and there's loads of different ways you can grow potatoes. But
I'm horrible at growing them.
So what is the largest? What is the largest potato anyway? I have no idea. Do you have any idea?
I think I'd need to double check, but it's about 10, 11 pounds in weight. So it's
Feed the family.
Yeah.
It looked like a starship.
Wow, I can't even imagine taking something out of the garden that big.
Yeah.
I mean, inside the house. And see, my wife does the cooking. I do the field work. I couldn't even imagine bringing that here. Here you go, hon. Here's dinner. See her reaction.
You can make some big chips out of that one.
Yeah. Well, I love potatoes. I'm horrible at growing them. I've tried them several ways, tried in grow bags. One year we did it all in a bunch of them in our raised beds. And then I tried a trash can the year before last. And each time I get these little teeny, little horrible potatoes. And
so what we do with ours is we have a tray underneath our pot, and then we'll just water from the base, and we'll use like seaweeds, and just keep the potato plant healthy. Don't let it saturate with water. And then you should really get make sure you add a base feed within the grow medium to give the potato the best start in life. And it's all about how you nourish the plants, really. You can sometimes suffer with potato blight, which would decimate potatoes, but there's loads of potential issues with growing potatoes, but I think it's more trial and error, really. If you've only just started growing them, just grab a pot, grab a couple of different varieties, and I'm not sure what varieties you have over in the US, but
I think we did Yukon Gold this last time, but I've tried purple ones. The purple ones make really cool mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Now, starting your seeds, what kind of grow medium do you put your seeds into?
So we use sheep's wool compost. We do use some peat sometimes. This growing season we used 2 types of peat-free compost, and growers in the UK are having to transition towards peat-free products, right. and I think if we all learn from that, I think one of the advantages to peat-based compost is that the feed is contained within those bags to ensure that you have 6 to 8 weeks of food for the plants.
Yeah.
One of the issues with peat-free is I don't think it's quite there yet. We did have very good success with 2 companies, peat-free products, but it's just like anything, really. It's in its embryonic stage, really, and we're having to learn. One of the things, I was chatting with one of the guys from a large compost company, and they had a lot of people send twigs back because there was too many twigs, and if you get peat compost, you're not going to get many twigs in there, if any. But the twigs act as a nitrogen for the plant, so it's just more maybe about education and how people are transitioning to a different way of growing, really. And also peat-free, you need to feed more because there's not as much, I don't think, nutrition in the grow medium, basically.
And here's a funny question: if you had to seed a pumpkin, a large pumpkin, how many seeds would you get, and how long does that take?
Yeah, so I've seen videos of people using chainsaws now to cut up the pumpkins.
Yeah.
Quite quirky. Some use cranes to drop them from a height. I've seen people carve out, the back of a pumpkin and go in like it's an igloo, and some people even swim down rivers in them.
Like a boat.
In terms of the length of time it takes, I would say it's going to take at least 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes probably to scoop out, a 2,000-pound pumpkin. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. They're overestimating really.
I don't think so at all. I thought I was going days, 40 minutes.
It's all good fun though, really, harvesting seeds, and those seeds are grown by people who want to grow large pumpkins, basically, and share the love of growing giant and big veg.
I think a lot of people don't get into it, or some people are starting to get into it. Some people are not. It's because of the bitter taste that people think they have. Like, I'm going to grow this, and all of a sudden, then what?
Yeah.
It's not going to taste as good, so might as well not grow it.
Yeah, I think there's loads of different ways around dispelling that myth, really. So some of the beetroot we've grown, giant beetroots, have been used for chutneys, chili sauces. So there is a, and the giant beetroot, you don't need nail varnish on your nails. They're literally stain your fingers for days.
Yeah.
But onions, they're very mild. You could have a giant onion ring, which would maybe feed 2 kids for one ring. But a lot of the vegetables, I think they're perfectly edible. Some people see the size, and I think that's because supermarkets have perfect vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have 200 leeks, 200 apples, all the same size. If they're not the same size, they don't get put on the supermarket shelves. And with giant vegetables, they're oversized, and fruits and vegetables that maybe don't look aesthetically pleasing to the consumer's eyes, but from our growing eyes, they're perfectly edible. They might take a bit, like a parsnip might take a bit of peeling, but you can eat them. You can make wine out of watermelons. You can make wine out of parsnips. There's loads of different uses, really. And I was recently talking with one of the guys from Great British Bake Off, and he grew some of my giant marrow seeds, and on the actual show they showed some of his great successes with, and his name is Josh, and I didn't really know that he was going to be on not MasterChef, sorry. Hopefully he will be one day on Great British Bake Off. But
I like watching that show.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see, really. Just seeing a marrow on there, I thought that looks like mine. Because I can kind of tell my genetics of the seed that I've developed, and they're quite unique, really. And you don't get them in your shop bought seed packets, really. So.
That's really cool.
And how about corn? What before that, what is your favorite vegetables to grow? Like, I'll put from your garden to your table. What is your favorite vegetables?
I think tomatoes are my favorite. So one of my favorite, not necessarily vegetables, but fruits, is tomatoes. This year we've experimented on how many meals we can have from a tomato once we've harvested the seeds, and we made soup, pasta sauce.
Yeah.
We froze the pasta sauce from a tomato. You can make multiple dishes. You got tomato juice. There's stacks, really. I think also, what is my favorite fruit? Probably the beetroot, because it's got a long heritage with my dad, who developed the very first seed that grew the first Guinness World Record. So I've kind of developed that on. We currently hold the Guinness World Record for the heaviest beetroot, and we've made sauces out of that, some chutneys, and I love beetroot. It makes everything pink at the next day, but or purple, but it's good for you.
Yeah, it's very good for you. That's awesome.
I'm a Jersey guy. We love our tomatoes. 1 tomato, 2 tomato.
I make tomato, I make tomato juice, tomato sauce. I do all that. And this year, for the first time, I made pizza sauce. and I canned it all. So I have so much of that. It's tomatoes you can do everything with, and you make several meals out of that. So
Now,
yeah.
Kevin, talking about tomatoes, do you can anything?
Yeah, we started doing that. One of the things that my partner learned is about freezing some of the sauces. I don't know if you knew about this, but it does take quite a long time to defrost them. But
Yeah.
so putting them into glass jars and freezing the sauce basically. But I think I need to learn because I did a bit of research and there was some health issues of canning, so I need to try and perfect how we're going to can in terms of sterilization. And I read some like risk websites of canning, but
Oh, yeah.
but maybe that's not.
Yeah, don't let those freak you out because that's not the case. And there can be things that go wrong, but that's the whole point of trying to learn how to can. So
Yeah.
but once you get started, it's really easy. And as far as canning tomato sauce, it doesn't really require a whole lot. Like you can it, you put it in the jars, you put the lids on it, and then you drop it in some boiling water for 40 minutes. So it's not hard. You just have to get the process down and make sure your jars are clean and all of that, and then you shouldn't have any issues.
You'll have to give me some more tips.
Okay.
One of our friends is called Rebel Canners. She has a large following. If you ever want to check out Rebel Canners, I highly recommend it. She's on Facebook. That's her primary, but she's also on YouTube. And Rebel Canners. Great lady, very kind, very helpful.
Yeah.
Somebody I recommend.
I'll check her out.
So Kevin, we're starting our vegetables and, starting from seed. Sometimes we get aphids. What do you do to stop those little pests from, ruining your seedlings?
Yeah, so sometimes there's an organic horticultural soap that some people use, which is an asphyxiator, which basically suffocates the pests. Something potentially other people can look at, and what we do is literally just by watering the pests off with a rose. So you can just take off green fly and just squash them with your hands, and you don't need any chemicals to do that. One of the things that we had the opportunity to go to was a factory called Hawes, which has been in existence for many years, and we managed to make our very own watering can from literally bits of metal to the galvanizing process and actually sticking on the Hawes label. And these are over in the US at the moment. Okay. So they've just been launched over in the US. But fascinating. I don't think this would have passed the quality test probably because I'm not an expert watering can maker, but it does the job and very lightweight. And hopefully we'll be having this in our family for many years.
I can see the reach in that too, where you need to reach and use it. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're amazing. I've got a whole wardrobe of them, or greenhouse of them.
I can't even imagine all these connections that you have. I mean, there's so much knowledge has to be going. Like I always say, if you learn something, put it in your pocket. And sometime or another, if you learn from it, great. If you don't use it, it's okay. It's always in your pocket to learn, if something happens, because we're always learning as a community.
Yeah, I think one thing my dad always said to me is don't let your secrets go to the grave, and thankfully his secrets didn't go to the grave, and I'm sharing all of our growing tips and of all of our energy into trying to help others to learn from us, and hopefully one day people can pass on their knowledge and their tips right down to us and growers all over the world.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's very well put. Well, thank you, Kevin, so much for coming on our show today, answering our questions. Go check out Kevin's site, buy some seeds, buy some materials. He ships. Well, I'm not going to say anything. Just go to his site, check it out. There's so much so much knowledge he could share. Oh my, you could spend hours and days and a year just looking at his videos, and it just fascinates your mind. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe and Korky. It's been great to meet with you. And I'm not sure what time it is over there now, but it's 20 to 7 and my belly's starting to rumble.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Bye.